Yay, we did it! Good game. Good game. Oh my gosh, this game is awesome. All of these people on screen right now did a great job with this game. They've made me a Culdcept fan. I am 100% a Culdcept fan now. For sure. I guess as is tradition, I will go ahead and give my thoughts on the game in a sort of pseudo-review style. So gameplay obviously is fantastic. The gameplay of this game is super unique, super fun. Exploration, there's not, I mean, you can go to your past areas, which is pretty fun, and challenge your past opponents whenever you want. I like that, but that doesn't really count as exploration, really.
How much time has gone by? Goligan is back at Coundra's sanctuary and recounting the battles at Soltalia. Has that scepter become a god? That we cannot reveal. Culdra may know everything, but never shall we.
Awesome. Awesome. I love this game so much. So, where was I? Not much exploration to speak of. It's a world map. But it's a nice world map. Combat would be like the fighting of the cards, like duels, like monster duels. And those are obviously really great. There's so much risk reward. You don't know what your opponent is going to select. It's a double blind process of selecting or not selecting an item. You got to weigh the pros and cons of invasion. You know, am I confident enough that I'm more likely to defeat them than they are to defend against me? That's the majority of strategy in this game, is managing your hand so that you can have the upper hand when you get into a duel. Very good stuff. Progression. So as with any card game, you gain more cards the more you play. That's the perfect way to progress in a card game. So progression is great. Equipment and items I have listed on here, but that would be the cards themselves, I suppose. The card variety is really great. There's a wide array of effects. I don't think I even saw all of the cards. Let me see. I've probably only seen like 50 or I'd say like 50 to 80% I've seen of the card catalog. And even then, the card variety in this game is really good. The 4 colors are a staple of these kind of card battling games. They work great in this case. There's plenty of synergy. Everything seems pretty balanced. The only things that might seem a little unbalanced are like Gremlin Amulet is kind of busted a little bit. The hand is really annoying. But I guess there's counterplay. They're more annoying to deal with than anything else. The problem with them is that if they're in somebody's hand, it like dictates how everybody has to play. Because like, it's so powerful. But overall, the card variety in this game is fantastic. Menus is the last gameplay thing I have. They're functional. Nothing too special about them. The UI in-game is good as well. It would be nice if you could see all the boosts that were being applied. Maybe that's the only thing. If there's a boost on a creature, it'd be nice to be able to see that. Translation errors notwithstanding, I think the UI and the menus are functional, aesthetically pleasing. Speaking of that, aesthetics. So Fidelity, I think this game holds up okay. The CG stuff, obviously dated. But I think the way that they use the CG, mostly for backgrounds and those short little cutscenes, I think it keeps it from looking too aged. Focus is the sprite work and the card art, which they still use some of this card art in the newer games. So I'd say that all of that holds up really well. The graphics themselves, like, I love the sprites. The sprite work in this game is so charming. They managed to make the most menacing creatures look cute somehow. In fact, I love the sprites so much, I've considered using them as emotes when I, can get emotes. I think I'm gonna try to rip these sprites out of the game somehow and use them as emotes, just because they're so appealing. And the card art as well is awesome. From my understanding, they use prolific Japanese artists for the card art. And you can tell, because they all look great. You can see different styles, but they're all pretty cohesive. You can tell that they're all Culdcept cards. The backgrounds of the stages are great. I love how it blends the sort of pre-rendered Donkey Kong Country style pre-rendered graphics with the sprite work. It's all very tastefully done. It comes together in a very nice visual package. Music is great. There's a couple of songs in the game that are memorable, like I find myself humming to every now and then, that I might listen to outside of the game. Most of the time that's not the case, which is fine. As long as the music is good while you're playing it in the level that it's designed for, I think that's good music. And this game has good music all around. They were all fun to listen to for hours at a time, which is great, because you spend hours at a time in a single match. Sound effects are great. Like the dying sound effects are fun. When I had my friends over to play the other day, we couldn't help but mimic the sounds every time they were played. The slashes, the punches, the, magic bolts. They all have a nice punch, a nice crunch when they're supposed to. The cutscenes, there are minimal cutscenes, but the ones we did have, again, it's that awkward CG. It's gonna look a little jank, but even then, it's aged in a way that it doesn't look like great, but it's fun to watch. At the very, very least, it's fun to point and laugh and haha, look at how jank it is. So story. Overall, I'm just gonna say I like the story. It's acceptable. It's nothing groundbreaking. You're searching for MacGuffins at the beginning. You don't really have a direction. Your character doesn't really have a direction. You're just going out into the world to find something. And then you go to the arena, and then things start to actually pick up. The second half is definitely more engaging than the first. Characters, right. Again, for the first half, it's okay, the characters are just here to fill a role. I fight you, and then leave. But towards the end, they started to really, feel more endearing. The one-off characters like Zagal and those, fire and water twins that didn't come back for some reason. That's kind of weird. They were fine for what they were, but the ones that keep coming back, Ryvern, he's the rival. He didn't really feel like a rival all that much, just a recurring antagonist until we got to the final boss. Something to tie everybody together because he's a mercenary traveling around. But I like Ryvern. He grew on me over time. But the standout characters, of course, are Galligan, Selena, and Leo. I think they all were a great cast. They make a great party. I love their dynamic. You don't really get that until you leave for the second continent. I love the scene where they're talking about going into the mansion in the rain. That was really funny. And at the end, when they, gave their heartfelt goodbyes and expressing to Isahel how much they'll miss them, that made me feel a little sad. So I ended up caring about these characters, which is, of course, the goal. This game succeeded in that way. Dialogue was kind of weird sometimes just because of the translation stuff. You could tell that every now and then it got a little strange. And in that final cutscene with Soltis, the way he read the lines made it clear that he was reading a mistranslated script. It was a little stilted. Dialogue overall, though, for being a sort of janky translation, was still pretty good. I enhanced my experience a little bit by reading it out loud, which made it much more fun. But I think the dialogue was good. Voice acting, as jank as I just said it was, the voice acting is awesome. Every line is iconic. Everything anybody says in this game feels iconic. Whenever they read a creature name, an item name, good luck on your next journey. The defense was too strong. They're all delivered in such a deliberate way that, I don't know, it just, when I was playing with my friends the other day, we couldn't help but repeat every single time Soltis said woodfolk or giant rat. giant amoeba. There's something just so, I don't know. It's funny. It's funny the way he delivers it, but it's also, it's like earnest, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to put it, but voice acting in this game is iconic. The plot was good. I mean, I wasn't really sure who Gemini was. I sort of suspected that it was me. A little bit, more of as a joke. But I guess, in hindsight, I don't know if it could have been anyone else. But I think the plot that we did get was serviceable. It's a plot designed to justify you getting in card fights over and over again, right? And the setting is really cool. The setting of Culdcept is very intriguing. You have all of these worlds just out there in the universe, and they're all created by a scepter who won like a tournament or something. It really opens up the imagination. Like, what can these gods do? How do these gods interact with each other? How many worlds are there? There could be an infinite amount of worlds for all we know. I mean, this could be like the 10th world. Who knows? Soltaria is sort of generic fantasy, but it's got robots and aliens in it. It's sort of like hodgepodge or hodgepodge of fantasy and sort of low sci-fi stuff. And I like it. There isn't much world building. Most of the world building is through the cards themselves, but they're based on, you know, real world mythology and stuff. I guess I'll touch on multiplayer. Multiplayer is really great. This game is obviously way more fun with humans to fight against. The multiplayer is obviously the highlight of this game, even though you didn't get to see me play any of it. I'm told that there are even more maps to play in multiplayer than in single player, which is cool. You have a lot of options for ban lists and what totals to play to and all that jazz. A very fully featured tournament-ready multiplayer suite. Yeah, multiplayer is great. Oh, you know what else? Endgame content and replayability. This game has a ton of replayability. You can go for all the cards. You can go for all these medals here. There's a whole bunch of fun objectives to go for. And you have to figure out the hints too. They don't just tell you what they are. You gotta figure it out. And I'm told that there are a couple of secrets that you can unlock. You can unlock new maps. You can unlock the medals. You can get special secret cards, I'm pretty sure. There's 5 movies that I haven't even unlocked, so there's still cutscenes to see. There's illustrations to look at. So there's plenty to do even in single player after you've beaten everything or after you've beaten the game. It feels like I could probably get 8 more streams out of this game if I really wanted to. Post-game content is also very solid. With that said, what is my final verdict? Culdcept, this is technically Culdcept 2, I think it's become one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's in my top 10 now. Definitely one of my favorites in my PS2 library. This has been one of my favorite games to stream. Definitely like top 3, top 2. And I feel like this game nails it in just about every category. I can only imagine how great the newer games are if this one has left such a great impression on me. I'm gonna have to give this game, I'm gonna give it an arbitrary 9 points out of 10. This is an awesome game. I recommend it to anybody who loves board games, card battlers, or deck building games, or all of the above. It's a fantastic time.